He helped her, not knowing she ruled the galaxy and was richer than any queen alive. Ethan Cale wiped the sweat from his brow as he crouched under the rusted hull of a small cargo drone. The sun of Vera Prime glared down relentlessly, turning the metal of the sprawling spaceport into a furnace. Around him, the chatter of merchants, the clanking of engines, and the distant roar of starships filled the air. He had been at this job for hours, trying to repair the drone's power core before its impatient owner demanded he either finish or be replaced. Ethan liked his work, even if it was hard. He loved the feeling of turning broken things into something that worked again. But being a mechanic on Vera Prime wasn't glamorous. Most people barely had credits to pay him, and the wealthier travelers didn't trust a young human to fix their delicate starship components. Still, he tried. He always tried. As he adjusted the core's wiring, a sudden cry interrupted the usual din of the spaceport. "Help! Somebody, please!" Ethan looked up. A young woman had stumbled through the crowded walkways, a hovercart at her side sputtering sparks. Her clothes were strange, elegant yet practical, and her hair shone like polished copper in the sunlight. There was something about her posture, a confident grace, that made her stand out even among the throngs of travelers and traders. Without thinking, Ethan stood and jogged toward her. "Hey! Watch your step," he called, reaching out just as the hovercart tipped dangerously to one side. He grabbed the cart and steadied it, saving her from a humiliating fall. The woman blinked at him, surprise quickly replaced by gratitude. "Oh, thank you," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "I didn't expect anyone to help." "Happens all the time." He gestured to the hovercart. "Looks like your cart's circuits are fried. I can fix it if you like. Just don't want anyone getting hurt." "Guess I'm old-fashioned." He had worked on cargo drones, transport vehicles, and even a few experimental craft, but nothing like this. Still, he didn't panic. He had confidence in his hands and his mind. As he worked, they talked. Her name was Lyra, she said, and she claimed to be a traveler passing through Vera Prime on business. She asked about his life, his work, and the strange little planet he called home. Ethan found himself talking freely, telling her about his dreams of exploring the galaxy, seeing other worlds, and building machines that no one else could imagine. She listened carefully, nodding, and once in a while, letting a small, approving smile play across her face. "You have a good heart," she said finally, once the circuits were repaired. "Most people wouldn't stop to help a stranger. Especially someone like me. Just be careful next time, all right?" A reminder that kindness matters, even in a galaxy that often forgets it. The next few days were ordinary, but Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the strange woman and the glowing crystal she had left him. At first, he tried to ignore it, telling himself it was just some trinket. But soon, he noticed unusual things. A strange ship had hovered outside his workshop at odd hours, scanning his equipment. A few travelers had asked pointed questions about his work that didn't make sense. Even some of the merchants, normally indifferent, gave him wary glances. Still, Ethan focused on what he knew best, fixing machines. He repaired old transport shuttles, rebuilt worn-out engines, and modified drones to be faster and more efficient. Each success brought him a quiet pride, but also a growing sense that something bigger was stirring around him. One evening, as the twin suns of Vera Prime dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the spaceport, Ethan was approached by a stranger. The man was dressed in a dark cloak, face partially hidden. He didn't introduce himself, but his eyes were sharp and calculating. "I hear you helped someone recently," the man said. "A traveler with unusual items. You wouldn't happen to know anything about rare artifacts, would you? And some people will come for them." Ethan didn't know, but he felt an instinctive need to protect it, just as he had protected her cart days before. A few days later, while repairing an old freighter in the central hangar, Ethan was approached by a small group of shady-looking traders. They demanded to see the crystal, claiming it belonged to them. Ethan refused, hiding it in his tool belt. He tried reasoning with them, explaining he didn't know what it was. but the traders grew aggressive, threatening his workshop and his life. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a sleek, heavily armored ship descended from the skyport landing pads. Beams of light scanned the area, and the traders froze. Figures in polished uniforms stepped forward, and in moments the traders were pushed back, leaving Ethan unharmed but bewildered. From the ship's hatch, a familiar voice called out. "Everything all right here?" Ethan froze. It was Lyra, but she looked different. The elegance and authority she carried were undeniable now. She stepped down, no longer disguised as a traveler. The crowd around her murmured, recognizing her instantly. Whispers spread like wildfire. This was Lyra Solen, ruler of the Solen Dominion, richest and most powerful figure in the galaxy. Ethan could hardly breathe. The girl he had helped on a dusty spaceport street was no ordinary traveler. She commanded fleets, trade routes, and wealth beyond imagination. And she had trusted him, a simple human mechanic, without knowing who he was. Lyra's gaze met his, steady and approving. "You helped me without knowing who I was," she said. "And you didn't ask for anything in return. That says a lot about you." I didn't know, I helped." Everything he had dreamed of, exploring the stars, making a difference, building things that could change the world, was suddenly within reach. Yet he also understood that this was just the beginning. He had no idea what challenges awaited him, or how dangerous the galaxy could be when wealth and power collided. Lyra reached into her pocket and held up a hand. The crystal gleamed brightly in the fading light. "Keep this safe. It's part of something much larger, something that only you could understand when the time comes." A story where his hands, his mind, and his heart could truly shape the future. And in that moment, with the twin suns setting behind Lyra's gleaming flagship, Ethan understood one simple truth. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness could ripple across galaxies, changing destinies in ways no one could foresee. The next morning, Ethan woke before dawn, the glowing crystal resting on his workbench. It seemed to hum softly, almost as if alive. The events of the previous day kept replaying in his mind. The crowded spaceport, Lyra's smile, and then the astonishing revelation of who she truly was. He had always dreamed of seeing the galaxy, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. He stepped outside, breathing the cool, dusty air of Vera Prime. The city was beginning to stir, merchants opening stalls, hovercrafts zooming across the skyways, and travelers from distant worlds negotiating their deals. Yet, amidst the ordinary chaos, Ethan felt an extraordinary shift in his life. He knew that after yesterday, nothing would be the same. As he packed his tools and prepared for the day, a small, hovering message drone buzzed toward him. Its holographic projection flickered and stabilized, displaying Lyra's elegant face. She spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "Ethan Cale, I would like you to come aboard my flagship. There is something I wish to show you. Your skills and your character are needed in a way you cannot yet understand." The flagship was no small matter. It was a moving city, a fortress of wealth and power. He had only seen glimpses from the distance, and the thought of stepping onto it felt both thrilling and intimidating. But he knew the answer before he even considered it. "I'll come," he said aloud, and then quickly added, "I won't disappoint." Its hull gleamed under the twin suns, reflecting light like a floating palace. Docking procedures were swift, and he was escorted by attendants through corridors lined with polished metal, intricate carvings, and glowing panels that displayed maps of distant star systems. Every step he took made him feel smaller, but also somehow more significant. Lyra awaited him in a wide observation chamber overlooking the stars. She rose from her seat as he entered, her presence commanding yet gentle. "Welcome, Ethan," she said. "You have been trusted with something extraordinary, but trust alone is not enough. The galaxy is full of danger, and even the most skilled can falter if their heart is not true." I don't know what to say. Danger and challenge had always intrigued him, and now it was personal. He glanced at the crystal in his pocket, remembering her earlier words. Somehow, it was part of this larger story. Somehow, he was part of something bigger. Over the next few days, Lyra introduced Ethan to her world. He met engineers who worked on ships faster than any he had ever seen, strategists who mapped entire sectors of space, and administrators who managed trade routes spanning countless systems. Everything was precise, organized, and efficient, yet Ethan noticed something unusual. Even here, amidst immense wealth and power, there was a respect for individual skill and moral character. He realized that Lyra ruled not only with power but with fairness, earning loyalty instead of fear. Lyra herself watched him closely, testing his judgment with small challenges. She gave him malfunctioning drones, damaged circuits, and mysterious devices to repair, observing how he approached each task. Ethan's hands worked quickly, but his mind thought beyond the immediate problem. He devised simple but elegant solutions that others had overlooked, fixing things not only to function, but to function better than before. It was during one of these exercises that Ethan first sensed the danger Lyra had warned about. A group of officials, representatives from a rival trading faction, attempted to approach him under the guise of learning about his skills. But Ethan's instincts, honed over years of fixing stubborn machinery, alerted him. They were probing for weaknesses, trying to discover what he had and what Lyra's interest in him might mean. He reported the encounter to Lyra, explaining every detail. She listened, her eyes sharp, then smiled faintly. "You are observant, Ethan. Many would have ignored such subtlety. That is why I trust you. In this galaxy, knowledge and perception are as important as skill. You have both." There were rivals who would strike without warning, conflicts simmering in distant systems, and political currents that could topple even the strongest leader. Ethan understood that his small acts of kindness and skill could ripple through a galaxy in ways he had never imagined. One evening, after a long day of repairs and discussions, Lyra called him to the observation deck. The stars stretched infinitely around them, a silent reminder of the galaxy's scale. "Ethan," she began, "you have handled yourself well, but I must reveal something important. The crystal you carry is more than a trinket. It is part of an ancient technology, lost to time but capable of immense power. Many seek it for control or for profit. And now you are its keeper. And they are the qualities needed to wield the responsibility this crystal carries. There will be challenges, Ethan, challenges that test not just your skill but your integrity. You must be prepared." "What's happening?" he asked, though deep down he suspected he knew. Lyra moved to the command console, her fingers flying over controls with practiced precision. "They have come for the crystal. Rival factions have learned of its existence. They believe it can give them power beyond measure, but we are ready for them." The flagship came alive around him. Turrets rotated into position, shields activated, and the hum of energy filled the air. Yet, despite the intimidation of such advanced technology, Ethan noticed the humans and aliens working together seamlessly, relying on skill, instinct, and trust rather than fear. As the enemy ships drew closer, Ethan realized he had a role to play. Lyra's eyes met his, a silent message passing between them. "You can help," she said. "Your understanding of mechanisms, your ability to see patterns can turn the tide." Using simple principles applied in clever ways, he rerouted power, reinforced shields, and created unexpected countermeasures. The enemy fleet, confident in their superior numbers, suddenly found themselves facing a defense far more effective than they anticipated. Hours passed in tense coordination, strategy, and technical improvisation. Ethan worked tirelessly, guided by instinct, knowledge, and a deep sense of responsibility. And when the enemy finally retreated, damaged and frustrated, the crew of the flagship erupted in quiet cheers. Lyra's hand found his, giving a rare, genuine smile. "You have done well, Ethan," she said. "Not because of what you know, but because of who you are. The galaxy can have many leaders, many warriors, but it is the heart that changes everything. And your heart has made a difference." Now he had saved a galactic flagship, outsmarted rival factions, and proven that human ingenuity and integrity could hold power in a universe dominated by wealth and authority. That night, as Ethan stood alone on the observation deck, the stars glittering around him, he reflected on everything that had happened. Lyra's wealth and power were vast, but they meant little without the people who believed in her, and without the individuals who acted with courage, honesty, and skill. He realized that this was what humans could offer the galaxy: ingenuity, moral clarity, and an unyielding determination to help others. The crystal in his pocket glowed softly, a reminder that challenges were far from over. And somewhere in the distance, Ethan felt the stirrings of new adventures, new responsibilities, and new opportunities to make a difference on a galactic scale. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a protector, a creator, and a witness to the incredible power of one human heart in a vast, complex universe. And as he watched the stars stretch endlessly beyond the flagship, he understood that this was only the beginning. Ethan had never imagined the galaxy could be so complex. Every day on Lyra's flagship brought new lessons, new challenges, and new surprises. He quickly learned that the life of a ruler was not only about power or wealth, but also about trust, strategy, and constant vigilance. Lyra watched him closely, often guiding him subtly while allowing him to make decisions on his own. It was a delicate balance between teaching and testing, and Ethan felt the weight of responsibility pressing upon him more each day. The crystal he carried was no longer just a glowing trinket. It had become a symbol of trust, a key that many coveted, and a source of danger. Rival factions were always trying to learn its secrets, and whispers of its power spread through the galaxy like fire. Ethan began to realize that his humble skills as a mechanic were now crucial to the safety of an entire empire. One morning, while inspecting the engines of the flagship, Ethan noticed something unusual. A minor system anomaly had caused an irregular energy drain in the secondary power grid. It was subtle, something that most engineers would have ignored, but Ethan's instincts told him it was deliberate. Someone had tampered with the ship. He reported his findings to Lyra, who immediately summoned a team of security analysts. Together, they traced the anomaly to a sabotage attempt, skillfully hidden deep within the ship's core systems. The realization sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. This was no accident. Someone had intended to weaken the flagship to put Lyra and the crystal at risk. Lyra's expression was calm but firm. "Ethan, you noticed it first. That is why I value you. Many would have overlooked it. Now we must act carefully. Our enemies are clever, and they will not hesitate to strike again." He spent the entire day analyzing systems, creating fail-safes, and reinforcing critical circuits. His simple, practical approach, rerouting power, creating backup protocols, and designing clever mechanical solutions, proved far more effective than complex security software alone. By evening, Lyra called him to the strategy room. Holographic displays projected the locations of various factions, trade routes, and potential threats. She gestured to the map. "Our enemies are testing our defenses, Ethan. They want to see how we respond. But this is more than a test of strength. It is a test of creativity and foresight. Can we outthink them?" He studied the holograms, tracing possible attack routes and weak points. Then he suggested a series of seemingly simple but highly effective modifications: decoy power grids, hidden traps in cargo bays, and clever diversions that would confuse enemy sensors. The strategy relied not on brute force but on ingenuity, on using the ship's systems in ways the enemy would never anticipate. Lyra observed him silently as he explained his plan. When he finished, she smiled. "Exactly. That is why I brought you here, Ethan. Not because of your strength, but because of your mind. Humans have a way of seeing solutions others overlook. Your ingenuity is our advantage." Rival warlords and rogue traders were probing the flagship's defenses, seeking weaknesses. Yet every time they tried to strike, Ethan's designs foiled them. Enemy ships were misdirected, attacks neutralized, and traps sprung with precision. Each success increased Ethan's confidence, and he began to feel that he was truly capable of more than he had ever dreamed. One evening, Lyra approached him as he studied a new engine schematic. "Ethan, there is something I must ask," she said softly. "You have proven yourself more than capable, but the galaxy is complicated. There are people who will try to use you to manipulate you. Can you maintain your integrity, even when it becomes difficult?" "I want to do the right thing, not because it benefits me, but because it matters. I've always tried to help where I can, and that hasn't changed." One of Lyra's trusted advisors, a high-ranking strategist named Kalen, discovered a hidden faction attempting to infiltrate the flagship. They were clever, hiding among traders and engineers, trying to gather information about the crystal and Lyra's defenses. Kalen brought the situation to Ethan and Lyra, seeking their input. Ethan examined the reports and immediately noticed patterns others had missed. The infiltrators were predictable in small ways: their movements, their communications, their choice of docking ports. Using this knowledge, he proposed a plan to expose them without alerting the entire crew, relying on precision and timing rather than brute force. Lyra approved his strategy. Together, they set a trap. Ethan prepared a series of modified systems, including hidden sensors and subtle mechanical adjustments, that would reveal the intruders' locations. When the time came, the infiltrators were caught in the act, surprised and powerless. The crew secured them, and Lyra commended Ethan for his foresight. "You turned a dangerous situation into an opportunity," she said. "You are learning quickly, Ethan. You are not just repairing machines. You are shaping outcomes, protecting lives, and preserving the balance of the galaxy." The challenges continued. Rival factions launched more coordinated attacks, trying to seize the crystal or weaken Lyra's rule. Ethan worked tirelessly, analyzing, designing, and improvising solutions. Each victory reinforced a simple truth: humans could achieve remarkable things through ingenuity, creativity, and steadfast determination. Lyra often watched him quietly during these moments, admiration and trust evident in her eyes. But it was not just the external threats that tested Ethan. Inside the flagship, political intrigue simmered. Some members of the council questioned why Lyra relied so heavily on a human, someone from a distant, humble planet with no formal training in galactic politics. Rumors spread, and whispers of doubt reached Ethan's ears. He realized that trust was fragile, that loyalty had to be earned not only through skill but through action and example. One day, an emergency alert sounded. A sabotage attempt had been discovered in one of the lower engine decks. A rival faction had infiltrated the ship once again, this time with more advanced equipment and clear intent to cause catastrophic damage. Ethan rushed to the scene, analyzing the mechanisms and assessing the risks. Using clever rerouting, precise adjustments, and quick thinking, he neutralized the threat before it could escalate. When he emerged, Lyra was waiting. Her face was serious, but her eyes shone with respect. "Ethan, your actions today saved countless lives. You are proving every day that humans have a unique strength, not just in skill, but in creativity, courage, and morality. These qualities cannot be replicated by technology or wealth alone." "And that is why you are extraordinary," Lyra replied. "You remind us that even in a galaxy full of power, money, and politics, a single human with the right heart and mind can make a difference." She trusted him, confided in him, and relied on his perspective in ways she did not with anyone else. And he, in turn, admired her wisdom, strength, and fairness. But the crystal remained a constant reminder that danger was never far away. Messages of threats, rumors of rival factions, and glimpses of enemies in distant systems kept Ethan vigilant. Each challenge reinforced his belief that humans could rise to greatness not through sheer power, but through intelligence, ingenuity, and unwavering integrity. One night, Ethan stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, filled with possibilities, dangers, and mysteries. He realized that every small decision, every act of courage, could ripple outward, changing outcomes in ways no one could predict. He thought of Lyra, the crystal, and the responsibilities now resting on his shoulders. And he understood more clearly than ever that being human, ordinary, resourceful, and principled was a strength the galaxy had underestimated. Even amid vast empires, powerful rulers, and advanced technology, it was the qualities that he had always taken for granted, curiosity, creativity, and compassion, that could shape destinies. Ethan's journey was far from over. The galaxy was full of challenges, rivalries, and unexpected dangers, but he now had the skills, the confidence, and the moral compass to face them. And he knew that, alongside Lyra and the crystal, he could help protect a galaxy that was as beautiful as it was dangerous. For the first time, Ethan felt that he belonged, not just on the flagship, not just in Lyra's empire, but in the vast, endless universe. A simple mechanic from Vera Prime had become someone who could change the course of events, who could stand against threats, and whose human ingenuity could shine even in the darkest corners of space. And as he held the glowing crystal, Ethan understood that his story was only beginning. The galaxy awaited, and with courage, cleverness, and heart, he was ready to meet it head-on. The galaxy had never seemed more alive, yet more dangerous than it did now. Ethan stood on the flagship's observation deck, gazing at distant stars that twinkled like scattered jewels. Every system, every planet, every fleet carried stories of ambition, conflict, and survival. And now, for the first time, he felt personally responsible for a portion of it. For days, intelligence reports had warned of a looming threat. A notorious warlord named Raxer, commanding a fleet of raiders, was moving through nearby sectors. His forces were notorious for brute strength and cunning tactics. They had learned of Lyra's crystal and believed that controlling it could give them unmatched power. Every second counted, and Ethan knew that preparation alone would not be enough. He would need to outthink the enemy. Lyra entered the observation deck, her usual calm presence accompanied by a seriousness that made Ethan pause. "Ethan," she said, "Raxer's fleet is approaching. This will be their largest attempt yet. I trust your judgment. Will you help me protect the flagship and the crystal?" Holographic displays showed the enemy fleet advancing in precise formation. Analysts speculated about their attack routes, but Ethan noticed something others had overlooked, a small but critical flaw in their approach patterns. It was subtle, almost invisible, but it meant they were predictable in certain maneuvers. "I can create a diversion," Ethan said, pointing at the holograms. "If we manipulate the energy signatures of a few decoy systems, they'll think they've found weak points and redirect their attack. Meanwhile, we can focus our defenses where they'll least expect it. You see solutions where others see chaos." Every adjustment was precise, every reroute carefully calculated. When the enemy fleet finally arrived, the battle began. Raxer's ships advanced confidently, but Ethan's diversions worked immediately. The raiders fired at decoy shields, miscalculated energy levels, and collided with traps they could not detect. The flagship maneuvered with surprising agility, outmatching the larger enemy force. But the warlord was clever. He adapted quickly, recognizing that something about the flagship's defenses was unconventional. He redirected a portion of his fleet toward the secondary engine decks, where Ethan had anticipated his strategy. The alarm blared and engineers scrambled. Ethan's heart raced, but he stayed calm. "Lyra, I need access to the auxiliary power conduits," he shouted over the comms. "If I reroute them to the primary shields, we can repel the secondary attack and protect the crystal." It was like orchestrating a massive symphony of metal and energy, each move precise and deliberate. His years of mechanical experience, his attention to detail, and his ability to improvise allowed him to outmaneuver the enemy without the flagship itself taking serious damage. As the battle raged above, Ethan noticed something alarming. One of Raxor's ships had broken through the outer defenses, heading straight for the chamber where the crystal was stored. He realized there was no time to wait for reinforcements. With quick thinking, he created an energy shield using diverted power from non-essential systems, protecting the crystal just as the enemy ship opened fire. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the flagship shook, but the crystal remained untouched. Lyra arrived shortly after, coordinating the crew with precision. Together, they guided the flagship through complex maneuvers, using Ethan's diversions and traps to neutralize the remaining enemy ships. The raiders, frustrated and disoriented, eventually retreated, leaving their leader's fleet damaged and demoralized. The flagship remained unscathed, a testament to human ingenuity and coordinated effort. After the battle, Ethan collapsed in a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra approached, her expression a mix of relief and admiration. "You did it, Ethan. Not just with skill, but with insight. You protected the crystal, the ship, and the lives aboard. You turned a near disaster into a complete victory. You see connections, possibilities, and solutions. That is human strength, the ability to combine knowledge, morality, and creativity to achieve what seems impossible." Yet Ethan knew the galaxy was far from safe. Rival factions would continue to seek the crystal, and new threats would emerge. He also understood that his role had changed. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a protector, a strategist, and a symbol of the power of human ingenuity. Lyra led him to a quiet chamber overlooking the galaxy. She gestured toward the stars. "Ethan, you have proven yourself in a way I could never have imagined. The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges and wonders, but humans, even from humble beginnings, can change its course. You have done that, and you will continue to do so." That small act of kindness had set everything into motion. It reminded him that even simple actions could have consequences far beyond imagination. "I never imagined," he began, "that helping someone could lead to this. I just did what I thought was right. Power, wealth, and armies can achieve many things, but integrity, courage, and ingenuity can change destinies. Never forget the value of your heart, Ethan. That is what makes humans remarkable in a galaxy full of uncertainty." Each day brought challenges, but each day also proved that human creativity could overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable. He devised systems that blended simplicity with efficiency, finding solutions others had overlooked. His ingenuity inspired the crew and earned him respect across the Empire. Word of his achievements spread quietly. Within the flagship, humans and aliens alike began to see the potential of collaboration guided by insight and morality rather than sheer power. Ethan's successes became stories told to inspire young engineers and strategists, examples of how one individual could make a difference. One night, Ethan and Lyra stood together on the observation deck, watching as the galaxy stretched endlessly around them. The stars seemed brighter, as if celebrating their victory. "Ethan," Lyra said, "the galaxy will always have threats, rivalries, and dangers, but with humans like you, there is hope. You have proven that even those from humble beginnings can shape the future, protect what matters, and inspire others." Now he understood that humans were capable of greatness not through wealth or force, but through intelligence, creativity, courage, and integrity. He looked at the crystal in his hand, its glow a reminder of trust, responsibility, and possibility. "I won't forget," he said quietly. "I'll do my best no matter what comes next. You have shown the galaxy the best of humanity. Together, we can face whatever comes and maybe, just maybe, inspire others to do the same." Humans, with all their flaws and strengths, could achieve greatness that even the most powerful factions could not predict. And as the flagship sailed through the endless stars, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. New adventures awaited, new threats would arise, and the galaxy would continue to test them all. But he was ready. With his hands, his mind, and his heart, he could face the unknown, protect the innocent, and prove that humans were capable of remarkable things. In the vastness of space, amidst fleets, stars, and distant planets, one simple mechanic had become more than he ever dreamed. He had become a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and the enduring strength of humanity. And the galaxy would never forget the human who had helped a queen without knowing she ruled worlds, yet changed the course of history through courage, creativity, and kindness. As Ethan stood with Lyra, looking out over the endless horizon of stars, he felt the truth of it deeply. Humans had no limits when guided by heart, intelligence, and integrity. And together, he and Lyra would continue to shape a future where the galaxy could thrive, not through fear or power, but through the quiet, persistent brilliance of the human spirit. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and Ethan knew that as long as humans like him existed, there was always hope, always innovation, and always the chance to make a difference in the vast, beautiful, and dangerous galaxy.